I'm Trisha Blum. I'm the Vice President of Business Consulting here at Charter School Capital. Today, I want to talk to you about ESSER because I know there are a lot of questions about how to spend that money, how quickly we need to spend it, and what we can spend that extra money on. For purposes of this conversation, we're not going to talk specifically about CARES Act funds, ESSER 2 or ESSER 3. We're going to hold them all in the same category. You should look to your state guidelines and your authorizer to determine if there are different restrictions on the different levels. I know there are timing restrictions on all three of them. So make sure you're checking that out with your authorizer and your state guidelines. But let's move on. So you have this pretty big pile, in some instances, a very large pile. Some of the schools I'm working with have between the three ESSER fundings, like 20 or 30% of their annual revenue. So it's a very large chunk for some schools, lesser for others. I want to talk today a little bit about how to spend it and why to spend it. So first of all, for most of you, it's reimbursable. So if you don't use it, you don't receive it. So that's why it's important to go ahead and use the ESSER funds. ESSER funds, unlike students, are fungible. And what that means is you can literally exchange or replace. So for example, if you've been paying a special ed coordinator that is not usually part of your school with regular state funding, you can submit that for an ESSER reimbursable. Again, check your state guidelines and receive that money back. And so because of that, then you can take that reimbursement and apply it to spending elsewhere. Depending on where you are in your school growth, if you're startup, growing fast and furiously, or you're really mature and stable, will guide how you choose to spend that funding. I would say that one of the pitfalls, like any small business or even at home, we receive this windfall or this big chunk of cash and we end up creating future liability with it. And we, of course, don't want to create future liability. And what I mean by that is we don't want to say, oh, I'm going to hire 10 new teachers for the end of time. And then in a couple of years, when we run out of ESSER funds, then all of a sudden we have to figure out how to pay those teachers. So we want to set expectations with the community. For example, I have a school in Ohio I'm working with, and what that school executive director has decided to do is create a pilot program. And she has been very clear with the community and on her website that her pilot program is for the next 2 to 3 years based on ESSER funding in order to help students increase their learning. And what she's done is she's created pods in 3 of her grades. So in 3 grades, she has, in any given classroom, 4 teachers for students of 25. So that's an incredible amount of educational support to her students. She is going to quit it in 2 or 3 years, which then prevents the school from going into some sort of debt or creating a liability with the community around how long those particular pods are going to be in existence. I have another school who is taking and spending their funds on technology. Most of us have had to create some technology. A lot of it's been cobbled together as we face the pandemic. But this particular school is now, as they bring students back in, they're getting their, they're really putting their tech lab together, if you will. So they're getting their computer carts and they're making sure that their infrastructure for Wi-Fi is at its, the fastest it can be. So they're spending money that way, which is a great level up for the organization. As an organization, when you choose to spend money for ESSER, it should always be with benefits for students in mind. And so again, within state guidelines, as long as you're thinking about what you can do to increase and improve your students' education and the sanctuary where they go to school, you can lean into that. For example, if you're looking for your forever home, you can start saving those funds in a capital improvement account or earmark them for furniture and fixtures for that forever home. Also, you can use those funds in enrollment marketing. I think so often once a school starts becoming stable, it stops paying attention to its wait list and doesn't spend so much time or concern on recruiting students. And if there's anything we've learned in this last year, it's incredibly important to have a robust and current wait list and to make sure that we're always doing some marketing because we always want to be able to turn and add students. And if you are thinking of moving into a forever home, you likely need the students to help you grow into that home. So I would highly recommend that you also look at enrollment marketing and facilities as options and ways to improve your facility, your education for your students, the sanctuary where you teach. I've given you a whole bunch of ideas on how to spend your ESSER funds. You can plan for your forever home. You can put together a computer lab. You can create some short-term pilot program for educational teachers. One of the great things I think is an opportunity for you to survey your community, your local stakeholders, right? Parents, your staff, even your surrounding community, to find out what they'd like to see. It's a great opportunity to engage and find out what they would like to see. And then you can work from there, of course, with your authorizer and your board. Also, I would say there is never anything wrong with saving a little money. We all have requirements and reserves that we have to keep. But like I mentioned earlier, you can put money into a capital improvement fund or increase your cushion so that should something come along, you will be prepared for it. Those are my recommendations on how to spend your ESSER funds.